Hey, I'd like to start off today with a story. Actually, a question, and this is for the guys. Have you ever been out with your wife, girlfriend, significant other, and they say, hey, do you mind if we stop by a store and I just want to look around? Yeah. Well, that happened to me Friday night. I just want to share this with you. I was taken out to a nice dinner by my wife and her brother and his wife, and afterwards, Elisa said, do you mind if we stop by the mall? I just want to go to JCPenney's to look at drapes. How can you say no, right? We go to JCPenney and, I don't know, about an hour and a half later, I found myself going out of my mind. I tried getting the phone number for suicide prevention, but I couldn't get a signal. So I started wandering around trying to figure out what kind of trouble I can get into. And I thought, there's got to be something here to end this type of pain. So I went over to the cutlery section where they sell the knives and all that stuff. And I thought if I could stab myself in the eye, it would probably be less painful than enduring what I was enduring and watching the poor salesgirl endure what she endured in trying to pick out drapes for the family room. So I went over to the blocks, the block sets of cutlery, I guess it's called, and I tried to remove the butcher knives. You know what? They're glued into the butcher blocks. These knives are glued into those blocks that sit on the counter. In the store, there's no way you can pull them out, and I figured out why. It's so husbands don't stab themselves in the eyes while their wives are out shopping. I just wanted to share that with you. I have no idea if it's going to fit in with today's message, but I'm going to try to work it in. But I just wanted to share that with you. That's what my night was like Friday night. I don't know. I just thought, what the heck? Hey, in this passage, by the way, this passage is known as the Good Shepherd, where Jesus, talks about himself being a shepherd. And it got me thinking, what does it really mean? What's it like to be a shepherd? Today it's, about 50 degrees. I'm out here in the backyard, and I came out here on purpose just to see what it would be like to stand out here in the damp, cold, dreary day doing this instead of inside where it's nice and warm and everything's comfortable, because I got to thinking what a shepherd went through 2,000 years ago. They basically lived outside and cared for the sheep. Night and day, good weather, bad weather, rainy like this, cold, damp, it really didn't matter. They had a job to do, and that was to make sure that nothing happened to their sheep. And just like in this passage where Jesus says, nothing can snatch you from me. I'm paraphrasing. But what I think he's saying is, as long as you're with me, everything's going to be okay. And I thought, wow, that's pretty reassuring, because if you go back and do a little research, you find out back then the sheep pens where the shepherds herded the sheep, they were usually made out of, I guess, rock walls, and they had sticks on top of them so animals couldn't jump over the rock walls and get to the sheep. And here's what I found really impressive. The shepherd actually slept. That's hard to say. The shepherd slept. The shepherd slept in the doorway, in the gate. He slept. He put his body in the doorway between the outside of the sheep pen and the inside where the flock was. And I thought, wow, what a way that we can picture this, at least, that he was saying nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. If anything's going to happen, whatever kind of thief, and there was, I guess, a lot of them back then, or whatever kind of wild animal, had to get by him to get to his flock first. And that's when I was thinking, wow, this is really, really neat for Jesus to compare himself to the shepherd, to the Good Shepherd. And the only reason I can think of is why someone would do that has to be out of love. I can't think of any other reason. And this week I was reading a book by Max Lucado. I don't know if you ever read any of Max Lucado's stuff, but you can get little blurbs from him on the internet, and you can get newsletters, and he's got some really great books. My favorite is Traveling Light. If you have a chance, I highly recommend it. But in this book, he was talking about how Jesus compared himself to a shepherd. and why he wasn't compared to a cowboy. And he gave all kind of analogies like, cowboys, well, first of all, a shepherd is supposed to take care of the sheep and make sure they're okay, and ultimately his job is to shear the wool off of them. Where a cowboy, his job is to get them ready for slaughter. Cowboys herd all the cows, and shepherds, they round up the flock. Shepherds are in there with them. Cowboys are rustling, and they're taking care of the cows. It's not that they don't care about them. It's just that I don't think you're ever going to see a cowboy lovingly caressing the side of a cow's face as he goes to sleep, or if the cow hurt his foot, or I guess it's his hoof. And I think there's the big difference. There's the big difference in that God, I don't think, at least for me, I don't think he wanted us to have that image of a square-jawed cowboy who is, uses discipline and all kind of things to keep us in line and brands us with hot irons and whips us and scares us into doing what we need to do. Instead, and especially in this passage, he sends Jesus as a shepherd. And just let me read to you what he says about this comparison. He says, we need a shepherd. We don't need a cowboy to herd us. We need a shepherd to care for us and to guide us. He's not a cowboy and we aren't cattle. He doesn't brand us, and we're not on our way to the market. He guides, feeds, and anoints. And word is that he won't quit until we reach the homeland. I think another part of this story that's at least reassuring for me is that he says he knows us. This is another example where God knows each and every one of us by name. And he claims that we hear him. And he knows every one of us. And I think, at least for me, that's pretty cool. And he's also the kind of guy that when you're wandering around the mall, trying to find a way to hurt yourself because you're just going out of your mind, watching your loved one, and by the way, Elisa is my world, I love her, and I just wasn't made to go curtain shopping. But this is the same kind of shepherd who watches us wander through those stores, guides us, directs us, maybe to the right sale, maybe to the right bargain. And he might just be the same guy that made sure those knives were glued into those blocks of wood. At least I hope so. Have a great week, everybody. See you next time. God bless.